I've learned in love, I will teach in life. Those were the last words I said to my father. He died on Christmas Eve, 2013. And when I spoke with him, he was no longer conscious. The last year of his life, cancer took him down. And he had also been caring for my mom, who has Alzheimer's disease. But I said to him that I was so proud to be his daughter. He was a World War II Purple Heart veteran. At the age of 17, he joined the Navy and almost died on a ship that was bombed in the Pacific. He had a lot of courage. And it took a lot of courage to then help my family, all 5 of us baby boomers, after World War II. He came back, married my mom. One after the other, we came along, and here we are, helping my mother, who had never lived alone in her almost 90 years of life. That's just the way it was. And all 5 of us live across the country, and we're like, okay, well, my mom needs help in the house, and I'm a gerontologist. I'm a professional in the field of aging. Like, okay, we'll get a case manager in. We'll get somebody to help get home services. And my mother didn't want anybody in the home that she didn't know. And so what does the case manager do? She says, Adult Protective Services will be called if you don't let people in the house. So we're all freaking out. Like, oh, where did she get this idea to tell her mother this? And my mother started crying, and it was just a nightmare. And I thought to myself, it's not supposed to be this way. So then I'm like, okay, let's get assisted living. We found a place. My mother had cataract surgery. We said, this is perfect. We'll tell her she'll go there and get all the drops. They know how to take care of her. Within 3 days, the brand new nurse, who had been trained the night before, because I was there when that happened, put the wrong drops in the wrong eyes, and my mother was freaking out. Like, why am I not in a place like your father was? Why am I here? These people don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, it's not supposed to be like this. So finally, we get her home. She gets services and so on. This was going on. This was just the first year. And then one day, I found a webinar online. It said, what is the status of Alzheimer's in the year 2050? Okay, well, maybe I'll be around in 2050. I'll be getting on to 100 years by then. So let me find out what it's going to be like. Because, my kids, if I'm still around, they're going to be taking care of me. And I sure hope that I don't have to be dealing with the kinds of things I've been dealing with my own mom. And I discovered that the amount of funding for Alzheimer's research was way lower than any of the other major causes of death, and all the other major causes of death have been decreasing, but in Alzheimer's disease, it's increasing. And I was outraged. At the end, it said there's an Alzheimer's advocacy forum in March in Washington, D.C. So I signed up. I got the courage up, just like my dad, going off. Of course, I've been to Washington, but, sight unseen, to this huge forum of 1,000 people from all 50 states. And they taught us how to go to Washington, and we had 2 different things we were asking for. One was the Hope for Alzheimer's Act, to pass that, and the other one was an increase in funding for Alzheimer's research. And at the end of our day on Capitol Hill, there was a special aging committee hearing that was held by the Senate. And at the very end, Senator Susan Collins said, we'll still take testimony. So I went up to her. I said, I have things to say. I have stories to tell. She gave me the card of her staffer. I go back to my room. The next morning I wake up, I'm writing all these stories. I'm just sharing everything that I've been through and how discouraging it is to be a professional in aging and all these things are going wrong. So I get back to LA, and the day after, it turns out Bernie Sanders, then independent Senator Bernie Sanders, was speaking in Los Angeles. So I got to hear him speak. Didn't really know a whole lot about him. I knew he was thinking of running. He wasn't at the time. And I went up to him afterwards, and I shook his hand, and I said, I was just on Capitol Hill. I went to a Senate Aging Committee hearing. I was with the Alzheimer's Advocacy Forum, and he said, your group made a difference. And he really didn't point his finger at me, but it makes a good story, because that's what you see him do on TV now, right? But it made an impact on me, because I wanted to make a difference. If I couldn't change what was happening to my mother, because Alzheimer's is progressive, sometimes she doesn't even know who I am anymore. So I had sent in my testimony. Almost 2 years to the date after my father died, both the House and the Senate agreed to give a record increase in funding for Alzheimer's research. So I was just beginning to feel like there is hope, maybe not so much for my mother, but maybe for people who are in earlier stages, or maybe for people like me who have to be concerned about, is this going to happen to me or my children? And so next week, I go back to Washington. I'm going by myself, but I'll come back, I know, on the wings of the 1,000 people, and what I learned in love, I will teach in life. Thank you.